After the Colossal destroyed the gate, the Titans flood into the district. People are running for their lives, trying to evacuate the district as the Titans gobble them up. With Harness's help, Erin and Mikasa are evacuated out of the district, where they are reunited with their friend Armin. Meanwhile, Harness's drinking buddy is leading the garrison. He might be a lazy drunk, but when humanity needs him, he rises to the occasion, setting up a last line of defense at the gate leading into Wall Maria. They will save as many lives as they can, and no Titan shall pass. At least no normal Titans. This is when the armored Titan arrives. With great speed, it charges at him and his men. With its hardened skin, it ignores all the shots from the cannons. He orders his men to retreat as he faces this insurmountable foe down. He will never run from his post. Overcome by the shameful act of scolding such a great man, grief of such a loss to humanity, and rage at such an injustice, Eren vows to avenge him.
I'm gonna put a stop to this! I'll kill them all! Every last one!
We are then told that because of the refugees, Paradise is under a massive food shortage, and through sheer desperation, the refugees are sent to a farm in the middle of winter. Needless to say, it doesn't go well. After that failure, the government sends out 250,000 refugees to fight and take back Wall Maria from the Titans. This also doesn't go well. The current score is 3-0 for the Titans. I suppose they had no other uses for those people besides feeding them to the Titans. And did these refugees not protest this at all? We've seen even soldiers are scared of Titans. But I am expected to believe all of these people complied willingly. And after they all died, no one was outraged by this. Nobody cared. No uprising, no revolution, okay? I really hope they don't use a threat of uprising as a way to raise the stakes later, because clearly, the people within the walls are the purest of all the sheep. And where did they get the resources to give all these people weapons? Or did they fight the Titans with their bare hands? We see that the scouts were a part of this counter-offensive. Are they so useless that they couldn't even kill the Titans whilst they were eating refuges? Remember, it's 250,000 refugees, although we are never given a count for the Titans. Even if there were 50,000 of them, that's still plenty of bait. This is some piss-poor world building. Anyways, as Armin is grieving his dead uncle or grandpa, Eren takes the opportunity to make it about himself and shares his desire to enlist in the Cadet Corps. Armin says he will too, and Mikasa, who's always looking out for Eren, says she will as well.
Next year I'll be applying to join the cadets. To become strong enough to fight back. I'm with you. You don't have to. I do!
So do I.
Damn it! I'm not trying to drag you in! Look, there's no point in following me to my death!
Yeah, and if I can help it, then it won't be your death.
The 104th Cadet Corps arc is boring and bad, so I'll respond to Korotos Mystery Shack's video to keep this coverage interesting. And just like Mark's video, there's stuff here I won't cover either because I agree with it or because it's not relevant. This video is good and has some good analysis. It's worth watching. But unfortunately, the creator's judgment is blinded by his love for the show. If you were looking forward to covering Mark again, don't worry. Mark will return in the next episode. Before getting to the video, I'll briefly explain the arc, and then we'll jump onto Korotos' review. The central conflict of the 104th Cadet Corps arc is flat. During training, Eren struggles to use the ODM gear, and if he can't get his shit together, he'll be kicked out of the academy. But it turns out his gear is faulty.
Your equipment was defective. If Given a piece of functional gear, you might not be worthless after all.
And after it is fixed, he can use it efficiently. There, we did it. Introduced a conflict and solved it in one episode. New characters are introduced. Sasha likes to eat. Reina is big, strong, and everybody likes him. Bertolt is tall. Jean wants a comfortable life as a military police officer and likes Mikasa.
Excuse me. I just wanted... I've never seen anyone like you before. I'm sorry. You have really beautiful black hair.
Thank you.
Connie is dumb, and in case you didn't notice, Armin is smart. And that's it. Flat and one-note characters. This is the best part. If you didn't get it, they spell it all out in the next episode.
Armin Arlert. Built like a daffodil, but academically brilliant. Annie Leonhardt. Gifted with a sword, but does not exactly play well with others. Bertolt Huber. Heaps of native talent, but too mild-mannered. Sean Kirstein. Head of the class on ODM. Also an insufferable smartass with a Sasha Brous. Unusually fine instincts. Rarely shares them with her teammates. Connie Springer. Agile on the switchbacks. Few sandwiches shy of a picnic. Mikasa Ackerman. Model cadet. Excels in everything. In fact, it's no overstatement to call the girl a genius. Eren Yeager. Lackluster in the classroom. Marginally better in the field. But driven by a sense of purpose that's almost terrifying.
Brilliant writing. Now that we know their hopes, dreams, and values and know what they fight for, you will care when they are in danger, right? Right, guys? After 2 years of off-screen training, they graduated, and apparently the lackluster in class and mediocre in the field, Eren Yeager, made the top 5.
Ha! Bagaga!
Okay.
Most importantly, it directly mirrors the training of the Marleyan shifters. Remember that each and every one of the Titans in Marley joined the military purely out of necessity. Eldians are shunned from their society, so the only way to reclaim some sort of social status was to join the military, where becoming a Titan and essentially signing your own death warrant in 13 years was seen as the highest honor. Contrast that to Paradis, where each and every one of the recruits came here because they want to fight. Sure, you can argue that a part of it was still out of necessity, but compared to the Marleyans, there is a lot more free will involved. So in essence, it both shows you how differently their stories began, but how they still converge to that same senseless violence we've already seen and are now seeing in the final season.
This is a self-defeating point. From your analysis, the Marleyans joined the military for social status. Social status is not a necessity. They consented to it, knowing they would die after 13 years in exchange for money and fame. On the other hand, though incompetent, the scouts are fighting for survival. Another problem with this is that only kids are trained as shifters. There's no good reason why adults couldn't accomplish this mission. I hope I don't need to explain why prepubescent kids are a terrible option for such a high-risk mission.
It's a bit of a trope, that's for sure, but keep in mind that this whole drill sergeant nasty persona is designed to protect them. If they can't hold their own against a person screaming at them, they'll die outside of the walls in 10 seconds flat. So in most cases, in reality, these characters are actually extremely empathetic. And because of these recruits' lives are essentially in their hands, they want to do everything in their power to protect them, even if that means being pointlessly cruel toward them, as it's merely weeding out the weak.
Although I agree with the purpose of this in the real world, here it should be to strengthen the weak. Remember, this is wartime. They were attacked and lost land and manpower. They have no idea when the Colossal could strike again, so their priority should be to get more soldiers. This idea that recruits can be allowed to leave is a little crazy, and I think mandatory conscription would help explain why some of these people are here and drive home the idea that humanity is desperate. This will have the added benefit of having Eren differentiated from the others, as his goal is to be there by his own free will and fight against the Titans.
Another thing that we see here is the importance of Shiganshina being reinforced, as everyone who was there during those attacks are basically celebrities already and get an easy pass during these initial drills. This essentially reminds you that what we saw was a historical event and nothing like that has happened before or since.
The guys who were in Shiganshina are not celebrities. Where are you getting this from? They only know Eren was there because he said so.
I know about some of us, but you never mentioned where you were from, Eren.
The same as Armin, from Shiganshina.
Oh, wow. That means you saw it.
You were there that day.
Huh? Quiet! The colossal one! Did you see him?
Yeah, I did.
Later, we get another bunch of scenes where the importance of that day in Shiganshina is reinforced, as we see Connie and the others ask Eren about what it was like. And I think that morbid fascination that each and every one of us has was captured very well here. They all obviously know that it was a tragedy, but they can't help but ask a million questions. And similarly, because information obviously doesn't travel fast in this setting, they also want to confirm all the legends they've heard of the Colossal with someone who has a first-hand account. In many ways, I think this also demonstrates just how detached a large part of society is. Because to them, a Titan attack is about as real as it was for those guards back in episode 1.
This makes sense on the surface, but the idea that these people feel so disconnected from the event damages the world building. 1/3 of the land was lost, 1/5 of the population died, and they are unaffected. Their questions about the events are undoubtedly realistic, but not the idea that they are not affected.
Following this, we get a bit more philosophical as we see the clashing ideologies of Jean and Eren. As you'd expect, Eren's going on about exterminating everything outside of the walls and all that, only for Jean to call him out and say that he should just be honest with himself and say that he is terrified like the rest of them. In the wider story, we do of course know that Eren was likely never truly scared, but when taken in isolation, I think there is a very interesting conversation to be had here. On one hand, exactly how we saw, if nothing is done about the Titans, the same thing that happened in Shiganshina will happen again. So clearly, Eren's drive is one that all of humanity should share. At the end of the day, if everyone sits back, they'll just be wiped out, right? But on the other, like we also saw, no matter how many soldiers go outside of the walls, nothing is ever achieved. The Titans simply keep coming. And with the Armored and Colossal, their power was so overwhelming that even if they had prepared, they'd still be helpless against them. So is Jean's perspective of just opting for a safe position and not wasting his life really that crazy? And so, you're locked in a sort of a prisoner's dilemma. Neither side is entirely right, and based on what we've seen so far, you can easily argue for both.
This is not a dilemma. Given what Jean knows, he should easily win this argument. The scouts were given 250,000 people and couldn't defeat the Titans. All he has to do is ask Eren what he plans to do to defeat the Titans, and the discussion is over.
And this is a bit of a puzzling one. There's this scene where Eren bonks his head on the ground, and his head is actually steaming. Considering all the anime tropes we've discussed already, obviously you write this off as a joke, right? But knowing what we know now, was it a joke? I think there's a case to be made either way if I'm being honest. It could legit just be Titan regeneration. But we also know that regeneration is not just a passive ability. The wielder can choose whether he wants to regenerate or not. That's exactly how Eren walked around without a leg after all. And considering that at this point in the story, Eren neither knows that he has powers or how to control them, you can also argue that this simply cannot be regeneration because he doesn't know how to do that. So feel free to chime in on this one. Are you just going with the Occam's razor and saying that Eren is angry and that's a joke? Or is it straight up regeneration?
If it is steam, why is no one pointing it out? It's impossible that no one wouldn't notice it.
Soon after, we see Eren go to the last people he can ask for advice, Bertolt and Reiner. And these scenes hit so different in retrospect. Reiner first tells Eren that he can't really help him, but before Eren can leave, Bertolt speaks up asking if they were also in Shiganshina, and follows up by asking if they know the horrors of the Titans, why would they even want to become soldiers? Keeping in mind his personality and background, I'd go as far as to say that this is both him trying to protect Eren and Armin, as well as just sheer morbid curiosity.
Remember that Bertolt attacked a district with his comrades in it. He could have gone to 3 other places, but he chose the exact location where his friends were. This is not a good guy doing what he has to, but we'll delve into the characters in depth later. For now, we are just going over plot stuff.
Because remember that it's been drilled into his mind that the people in the walls are devils. But after infiltrating the walls, he obviously began to learn that they are not so different. So he wants to take this opportunity and ask why would they put their lives on the line? Maybe in hopes of rationalizing Marley's goals, or maybe just to find out who these people really are. As we see later in the series, out of basically all the Marleyan Titans, Bertolt always seemed to be the one who hated what they were doing the most. And I think that in hindsight, that part of him is actually captured very well here. Though as their conversation continues, things get even more interesting.
So there's a couple of things wrong with this scene in the analysis. Bertolt asks why Eren and Armin want to be soldiers, if they know how dangerous the Titans are. Yet later on he says he wants to join the military police and live an easy life because he's scared of Titans. Now obviously this is a cover story, but this means that he knows not all the branches of the military fight Titans, and as we'll see later on, most cadets here want to either join the military police or the garrison. So why does he assume that Armin and Eren will be scouts? If he overheard Eren say he'll be a scout, why does he act shocked when he says he wants to kill all Titans? Something else here that is weird is Armin's motivation.
Wanna be soldiers. I didn't see the things Eren did. He saw their bloodlust firsthand before anyone realized how bad it was. And I knew I couldn't sit idly by as the royal government forced the citizenry into the failed territory retrieval operation.
This literally makes no sense. The land retrieval operation already failed. You already sat idly by as they got people killed. Now it wasn't your fault. There was nothing he could do about it. If he meant he didn't want another disaster like that to happen again, why didn't he just say that? Also, if his goal is to attain a position of power, why doesn't he say that within a monologue or something? Because as it is now, Armin is very thin as a character. He never comes across as someone seeking to create change in the government or military. He kind of just stumbles into a position of power through his association with Eren.
Their conversation continues as Bertolt says that most people here are simply trying to protect their social status, saying that choosing to work in a factory nowadays is considered cowardly, finishing with, "Not that I'm really much different from them." And once again, the double meaning in this one is so good. The way he's casually talking about Marley and his past while dressing all of that up in what's going on here is absolutely on point. And in a broader sense, I think it further drives home that idea we've talked about in previous parts. In the grand scheme of things, the story of Attack on Titan ultimately mirrors itself, in that Eren goes from being the one attacked by Marley's Titans to being the attacker in quite literally a Titan form himself.
The story does not mirror itself. Marley sends countless Titans to Paradise for decades, sent the colossal and armored Titans to kill countless people and caused a famine as a result. And do not forget, they didn't have to do that. Stealth was an option. Only after Marley turned the world against Paradise and declared war against them did Paradise fight back. Unprovoked attacks are not the same as warfare.
I think what's more important here are Reiner's and Bertolt's reactions, because they are seriously shook by Eren's wish to kill them all. Because remember that he is a Titan. Obviously, this is a pretty extreme thing for anyone to say, so some reaction is probably to be expected regardless.
Why is it extreme for Eren to say he wants to kill them all? As far as he knows, Titans don't think, they don't feel pain, they don't add anything to the ecosystem, and they predate on humans for sport. Exterminating all of them for survival is very valid. Also keep in mind that Reina and Bertolt identify as warriors, not Titans. These things are different. Titans are mindless beings. Warriors fight for the glory of their fatherland.
But I have another perspective on that. Keep in mind that both Reiner and Bertolt grew up knowing one simple thing. The people on Paradis are devils incarnate, and they wish to destroy the world. Of course, this is pretty hard to imagine, but I'd wager if you were to grow up in such an echo chamber, no matter how much real-life experience you'd gain afterwards, that initial belief and fear of quote-unquote them would still remain. It's all they've ever heard, right? So perhaps Eren literally confirming those fears is what caused their pronounced reaction. To give you another point of reference,
This also doesn't work the way you think it does. Although they have been taught that the people within the walls are devils, their lived experience would prove otherwise. You even say so yourself here.
but after infiltrating the walls, he obviously began to learn that they are not so different.
One person's desire to exterminate the Titans is barely sufficient evidence to confirm that everyone, or even most in Paradise, are devils who wants to destroy the world. Even if they made such a jump in logic, remember that Eren, as far as they know, has no power to achieve such a goal. The more realistic reading of this scene is that they are reacting to a delusional kid who knows nothing about what's really going on in the world and is spouting off nonsense to cope with his trauma.